This is a presentation of the Sports Source Digital Network, presented by Hearthside Bank.
A massive series awaits the Lady Vols this weekend. How Karen Weekly's Lady Volunteers will look to wrangle the Texas Longhorns in a top 5 showdown. Next on the Sports Source Digital Network. 11 meetings in series history, and this is the first 3-game series between #1 Texas and the 5th-ranked Lady Volunteers, and of course the first as conference opponents. I am Paige Dauer. This is the Lady Vol Focus. Make sure to hit that subscribe button now. So far, Tennessee is doing quite well against the conference's newest opponents, such as a win a couple of series ago against Oklahoma, and hopefully they can replicate that performance against Texas. And I think if they are able to do that or end up doing that, I think it's certainly going to start and finish with what they do in the circle. For Tennessee, it's all about pitching, and I think that's probably going to be the theme for much of the season for the Lady Volunteers until the pitchers behind Carlin Pickens get a couple more innings under their belt. And I still think we have a really small sample size with what the pitchers behind Carlin Pickens can do and what their real ceiling is. So sometimes opinions might feel a little unfair because the sample size is quite small, but there have been a little bit of cracks that we've seen, from those day 2 starters and pitchers for Tennessee, such as the last series against Mississippi State, where they gave up 8 runs in game 2 and the first inning between 3 different pitchers. Of course, they showed a ton of fight throughout the game, especially with what they were able to do on offense by putting up 4 runs, but they ended up getting run ruled by the Mississippi State Bulldogs 12-4. So how they end up eliminating some of those mistakes against the Longhorns will certainly be key, because the Longhorns are a very well-balanced, very complementary team with what they're able to do holistically. When we look at what they're able to do at the batter's box, they've got 5 players who have an on-base percentage of greater than 500 with at least 95 at-bats. There is a ton of consistency with what they're able to do on offense. Then you mix in what they're able to do within the circle. They've got strong arms to match. They've not given up more than 9 runs this season, and that came in a loss to Stanford earlier this year. So being able to get out of that tight spot where maybe as a pitcher you feel you can't give them too many easy looks and the defense is a little stressed, and then you want to make sure as a team on offense that you're able to kind of match or respond what they're able to do, what Texas is able to do as an offense as well. But when we look to how they're able to build off of the success that they've had this season, Carlin Pickens is, of course, one of the leaders on the team. She's a vocal leader for the Lady Vols, and right now she's really preaching how this team is focusing on consistency in these big-time matchups.
We haven't got a chance, we try and take it week by week, but they're going to get our best. We're going to go at them just like we have every other team. Right, the consistency is the main thing, just doing my job, sticking with our processes. As a team, I know that we're going to carry a lot of energy into that series, so just maintaining that and celebrating everything. I think that's what we've been doing recently.
Fewer pitchers in the country are more consistent than Carlin Pickens, especially with the way that she's able to throw strikes. And she averages about 9.6 strikeouts per 7 innings pitched, and that's about 15th in the country. So she is an elite company this season with how much growth she's been able to have from her freshman season up until now. It's what the other pitchers behind her are able to provide and complement the effort of that pitching unit. And it starts with Aaron Newer and Sage Margecko. And I think if they're able to get a few more innings under their belt, I think we'll start to see them progress in a way that's more reflective of how Karen Bleakley's pitching staff usually looks. Right now they are giving up quite a few walks in what they're able to do, and I think that'll be a really interesting aspect actually to this game against the Longhorns, because they have taken about 158 walks this season, and in their 40-game season so far, that's about 4-ish walks, maybe closer to 5 walks a game, and that ends up being something that costs the Lady Vols a couple of times this season or put them in tighter spots. And what they wanted was their pitchers maybe not always throwing the best pitch and not manipulating the strike box as a strike zone as well as they could. When we looked again to that game 2 against Mississippi State, those 3 pitchers that were in the game, especially to start, gave up 6 combined walks, and a lot of that contributed to more detrimental runs that were allowed, or when they were able to get a home run, instead of it being a single home run, it was a 1, 2, 3 type home run effort, leading to that 12-4 run rule against Mississippi State in game 2. I think if they're able to limit those types of pitches or manipulate it a little bit better, you know, in those one-on-one type of opponents that they get, I think they'll see more success as the season progresses.
That game is within reach if we don't walk 6 and hit 2. And you look at how that played into keeping innings rolling. Teams are going to hit the ball. I mean, they're good players over there, but we just can't do things that we have no chance to defend.
But what was positive to see in game 2, how one, they flushed it and then ended up winning game 3 to end up winning the series against Mississippi State, was even after giving 8 runs in the first inning of the second game against Mississippi State, they were able to get out of it. They were put in really tough pressure situations, especially the second and third pitcher that came in after, even the starting pitcher, trying to avoid what had happened. But what they were able to do after that was they continued to fight. They were able to put up 4 runs when, seriously, after that first inning, I don't think anyone would necessarily blame you if you felt that you were wanting to give up in that moment, that the game and a win felt out of reach in that moment. But they were able to maintain energy in the dugout. They were able to stay competitive with each at bat. And that, Karen Weekly says, that effort in game 2 won their game 3 of the series. And that's what Gabby Leach says will be really important when they get into another massive series like they are against Texas this weekend.
The energy has been a big part of like what we've been talking about, just keeping that up, like no matter what the score is, just making sure that we're not changing that. That's a controllable, we can control that. So really just bringing that, even though we lost that game, the first one, like bringing it into the second one, not changing anything. Just really the energy has just been a big piece for us.
And beyond what happens this weekend in Austin, what Karen Weekly is really looking for from her team is how they continue to respond, not only when they have success, like a series win over Oklahoma, but how they battle through adversity or how they battle through failure. And that really will show you kind of what this team is made of. And she's hoping with whatever transpires in the 3-game series with the Longhorns that they continue to respond in the right way.
I'm really proud of them, the way they bounced back from Oklahoma, because, you know, sometimes you can worry about how a team's going to bounce back from failure. You can also worry about how they're going to bounce back from success. And I think they did a really good job this week of recognizing the process things at Oklahoma that led to success and continuing to pour into those things and pour into each other. So to me, the consistency is, you know, like I think it was a 4th inning there, we have 3 at-bats from 3 seniors that, you know, we kind of gave those away. So that's where we have to get just that little bit better at maintaining that focus and never feeling like we gave away an at-bat.
It should be a great series weekend for the Lady Vols. Certainly something I wish were here in Knoxville, but it'll certainly be fun to watch and to listen how that game is going. I'll be back next week with more Lady Vols content, but until then, go back to the homepage. There's so much more exciting things on Tennessee Volunteers for you all to enjoy. Talk to you guys then.